Hey y'all, my name is Amanda Hughley. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We are getting started with our 90 days in the Psalms. Before we get into it though, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Every day I'll be coming on here and we're going to be exploring 2 to 3 Psalms. So let's get started. All right, we are going to go from the Amplified version of Psalm 1. Blessed, fortunate, prosperous, and favored by God is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, following their advice and example, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit down to rest in the seat of scoffers or ridiculers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law, his precepts and teachings, he habitually meditates day and night. And he will be like a tree firmly planted and fed by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season. Its leaf does not wither, and in whatever he does, he prospers and comes to maturity. The wicked, those who live in disobedience to God's law, are not so, but they are like the chaff, worthless and without substance, which the wind blows away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand unpunished in judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord knows and fully approves the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall perish. Now, as we look at this psalm in terms of the righteous and the wicked, we first see a progression of how we associate with wickedness or with sin. And Zondervan, which all of my references will be listed in the info below, Zondervan points out how it's like a progression. First, it is walking in the counsel of the wicked. Then it is standing in the path of sinners. And then finally, it is sit down to rest in the seat of scoffers. And the way Kidner aligns this is the walking is thinking, the standing is behaving, and the sitting is belonging. So if we look at it back in the first couple of verses, we see blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel. If we think of walking with someone, we may not be closely associated with them. We may not even really know them. We're just walking alongside of it. Maybe some small talk, maybe just a little hi. But there's still some associated because we're walking with it, right? But then if we go to standing in the path of sinners, when we stand with someone or something, there is a closer association. If we're standing talking to someone, it means that it may be in passing, that we are still going to continue moving forward, but we have stopped to associate with whatever we are standing with. And then finally, we move to sitting down to rest in the seat of scoffers. And if we are sitting down with someone or something, that just means that we are being intentional about our association, right? That when we sit down with someone to talk, our energy is on them, our concentration is on them, and thus we have a deep association. So there's a progression of how we relate with sin in these first couple of verses, right? If we move then to the second verse, we see the first mandate of the Psalms. And this is that we meditate on the word. And I just want to point out here that meditating in this sense is not just reading, right? Meditating means continually thinking about it. It means being in a place where the word is the center of what you are doing, the center of your mind. And it's important because, as we see in verse 3, it's literally our source, right? The word is what keeps us alive. In this instance, they relate it to a tree being planted by the water. And if we think about it, trees literally yearn for water, right? If you place a tree or plant a tree far from the water, its roots will literally stretch out to reach the next closest water source. And so this is a call to be like the tree, that wherever we are constantly yearning to attach to God and attach to the word, that we are reaching out to grab onto God, because we know that God is our source. And if we aren't reaching out, we will dry up. We will become like the chaff, which is what what David calls the wicked in this case. And before we go on to the wicked, I just want to also take note of the fact that when David talks about prospering, that doesn't necessarily mean prospering materialistically. It doesn't mean that there's wealth necessarily, but really what he means is that you will prosper and have success. You will have wisdom. You will make good decisions. So this is more of a spiritual and mental prospering than a material prospering. So if we go on to what they call the chaff, which is what the wicked are considered. I don't know if you know what a chaff is, but when you have grain and you harvest the grain, it's the little grain inside the chaff that's attached to the stalk. And once you take the grain out, it's straw, basically. It's like a piece of straw. So of course it's going to be carried away with the wind. But also we need to be very cognizant about what David is talking about in terms of the wicked here. Now, we tend to think of, when we hear the word wicked, these like witches and warlocks, like these evil people, these blasphemers who don't believe in God. But we really need to be careful and understand that the wicked in this sense is just a word for those who are sinning, those who are associating, like we saw the walking, standing, and sitting, are associations with not only sin but sinners. And also how we follow the law, both the law of the Old Testament, such as the Ten Commandments, and the law of Jesus Christ. And so we also can be considered wicked in a lot of our daily lives. So this is not something that we should look at and say, well, this doesn't apply to me because I'm not this wicked person. No, you aren't, but we are all sinners. And so this really is a psalm of introspection. How are we participating in sin? How are we associating with sin, right? And if we slide down to verse 6, again, we're going through this a little bit quickly because I want to be able to get in as many Psalms as I can in each day, and I don't want to bog down your time. I just want to give some quick tidbits and revelations. So I'm kind of going through this quickly. You can always replay it. These will be up forever and ever. So I hope you can follow along with me for now. So if we go to the 6th verse, we see almost a parallel to Jeremiah 29 and 11. When it says he knows the way of the righteous, it's because he has made plans for them, right? I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So of course he knows the way of those who are called. And that's comforting, right? And that's also it should kind of stir something up in us. It should give us a drive to continue pursuing righteousness, because it is then that his plan will be made perfect in our lives. And so I just want everyone to take this to heart, meditate on it a little bit more, understand that this is a reflection of ourselves. It is not a story about some evil person in ancient history. So, and that's this will fall along in all of my revelations, that it's very personal, and we should not read these as something that is just a story or one man's experience, but they apply greatly to our lives. And as we'll discuss even in the next psalm, even in discussing issues like kingdoms and Jerusalem and the temple, they still are very much applicable to our lives. So we just need to read with the mindset that it was even us writing it, or that it's a letter to us almost. All right, we are going to move on to Psalm 2, and this is going to be taken from the New King James Version. Why do the nations rage, and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are those who put their trust in him. Okay, so first and foremost, this psalm could be considered messianic, which means there is a parallel to, or it even prophesies the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So if we look through this psalm, we see right away that the people are plotting. The kings have set themselves and the rulers have come together to go against the Lord and against his anointed. In this case, it would be against the anointed, Jesus Christ. And we do know that the religious leaders and many of the Jews did plot together. They did come together to destroy Jesus Christ. And as we continue going through, yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. Again, this could mean a couple of different things, but the first thing that came to me, that he set his son on the cross on the hill. And then in verse 7, he says, You are my son, today I have begotten you. And of course, we know that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. He was his only begotten son, and that falls right in place with a messianic text. And in verse 8, we see almost a parallel, not almost, it's a parallel to the Great Commission. The Great Commission, of course, being go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And in verse 8, it says, I will give you the nations of your inheritance and the ends of the earth for your possession. And Jesus talked to his disciples about this inheritance, that he is bestowing on them a kingdom. So again, this goes right in line with the life of Jesus. And we have in verse 9, you shall break them with a rod of iron, you shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. And we know that death was overcome. We know that religion was dashed to pieces with the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And we do know that we are to serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. And then the last verse, we have kiss the Son, which in this, if we take the text literally, kiss the Son means to honor or to give honor to. But the fact that they use kiss the Son shows us that it is messianic, that even we can look at the kissing of Jesus's feet, the laying down at Jesus's feet. And if we go through the rest of the verse, that blessed are those who put their trust in him. And I think we can connect the him to the Son. Blessed are those who put their trust in Jesus Christ. And we know that that is a command of ours, to trust in the Lord with all of our heart and our soul, but also to trust in Jesus Christ and to trust in his plan and his promises to us, right? So it's amazing that David was literally prophesying through this second psalm. But I do want to go back for my revelation on this, and I kind of want to go back to the literal translation of this text. And I want to look at, again, what I said, blessed are those who put their trust in him. This is in verse 12. And it's just one small word here, but we probably say it all the time and we read it all the time, but maybe we haven't taken the opportunity to really look at what it means. And it says trust in him, not trust him, right? There is a difference, maybe slight, maybe to you it's all the same, but trusting God means that we believe that he will do what he says. It means that we're confident that he is God and he will keep his promises. And trusting God is based on our experiences with him, right? Like it's kind of like we have to build up trust of someone. If we trust someone, there's a building process to get that, and our experiences dictate how much we trust that person. But if we are trusting in God, that means that we believe in who God is as an omnipotent being. We believe in his essence. We believe in his entirety. We believe in his way of doing things. We believe in his sovereignty. And that is based on who we believe God actually is. Not what we think God is going to do, but who he is. And we do need to have both a trust of him and a trust in him, right? But it's the trusting in that creates the space for the trusting to become unconditional. And a lot of us cannot move forward in our relationship with God because we only trust him. We don't trust in him. And the more we build up our knowledge about God, the Psalms is a great way to understand who God is, because David and the other writers use these very vivid imagery, these metaphors for God, and these picturesque meanings of who God is. And it allows us to kind of expand our view of God, whether it be a shield or a strong tower or a shepherd. The Psalms can really give us a comprehensive view of just who God is. And so just ending on that note, go back through these two Psalms, read it with a new mindset, with a new vision, and I hope that you get your own revelations from these two. All right, I will see you tomorrow.